Hi, it's Dave. So I'm starting a series of several videos on how to get rich. Now, this is a risky topic for me since getting rich advice usually doesn't sit well with me. And I think it's for a few reasons. First, it often seems like when people give get rich advice, it seems like self-serving. Like some people saying, be like me, I'm so great. And they flaunt wealth and money, and they try to make people feel insecure. And they make being rich into like the most important thing in life. And to me, it just seems so distorted. And generally, I've tended to shy away from giving such get rich advice just because it leaves just a bad taste in my mouth. Also, most get rich advice seems to be so similar and shallow. It seems to be just about trying harder and being better and being like a superhuman superhero. And geez, it's just such a mess out there. I figure though, I'll give a shot at giving some get rich advice because in the worst case, I'll just add to the noise out there on how to get rich. But in the best case, I'll present a deeper approach, a look at things from different angles, and people actually might get helped to really see the essence of things. It's kind of like finding signal amongst noise. So anyways, the question is, how does one get rich? The problem in answering this question is there are many ways actually to get rich. For example, you could win the lottery. That doesn't mean it's the smartest way to try to get rich. Or you could be a Dogecoin millionaire. Or on the flip side, you could be a doctor who has a lot of high skills, who earns a lot of money, but doesn't invest anything, just earns and saves all that money. And it eventually becomes really rich. And on another side, you could actually inherit a fortune. And the problem with all of these ways that I just mentioned is a lot of times they're either very high risk or they're outside of one's immediate control. The question being is kind of what is in our control? What can we do to increase the probability of growing wealth? So this past week, I was watching some videos on YouTube on millionaire habits. And I think a lot of the people, kind of sharing so-called millionaire habits, they kind of miss the mark in a sense. Like people talk about working hard and getting up early and being responsible. And my question is, does that really make you a millionaire? Is that some type of correlation? Like, it just seems to me like, oh yeah, you're becoming a responsible person, right? A person who works hard. But then there are a lot of people who are responsible and work very hard, but aren't very rich. Then there's a ton of videos of people giving advice on how to be a millionaire, like advice from a millionaire or from people trying to be a millionaire. And the advice seems so typical, mostly the same generic stuff. And it kind of leaves me scratching my head. First off, I don't think being a millionaire is the ultimate goal or a dream in life. I think it could be part of like the bigger picture and it plays a role. But for example, I personally think helping people is a much more noble goal than just being rich. Anyways, I think also another angle is it's easy to manipulate people's desire to be rich, right? You have gurus and people just saying, follow these steps, right? Buy my course and be like me. I think it's easier said than done. The fact is, building wealth is, I think, more challenging than most people think. We're always looking for a shortcut, which is fine, but I think the shortcut needs to be the right one, right? We need to ask, what's stopping me from building more wealth? What's the challenge? We need to define and understand the problem. First off, I think to build wealth, we ultimately need to increase ownership in assets that are growing. So let me repeat this. To build wealth, we need to increase ownership in assets that are growing. For example, if you have a business and the business is growing, let's say you own that business, it's getting more and more income, more and more profits, right? Your ownership in that business is growing over time. That's right, a path to wealth. Another example is you own partial ownership in a company via stock or equities, right? That's another way. Or real estate. Let's say you own a building and the tenants are increasingly, right, paying not just their rent, but with inflation. And let's say you just have a great property, a great place, and the rents appreciate. The value of your property increases over time as well. So the key is ownership in assets that don't require your everyday attention, right? But these are assets that make money on their own, even without your direct involvement. But to own more of these like really valuable assets, we need to solve like the income or the earning problem. In other words, you need to have enough income or extra, right, leftover savings so you can exchange for these more valuable assets. However, the reality is that most people have a very limited source of income. And they don't really have much to buy these significant assets that can grow on their own because these assets are actually very expensive. So in essence, these are the two difficult problems to solve in getting rich. Namely, number one is earning more, and number two is owning more. And so the path to wealth is actually to increase your earning and to increase your owning. Most people, I don't think, put enough of their brain energy into solving these two problems, the earning and the owning problem. Most people don't even think that these are their top financial challenges. And if you don't know what your problems are, then it's going to be tough to actually solve them. So here's some bigger context. Most people's brain energy and power is being drained on things that don't bring much value to them long term. For example, you get back from work, you spend few hours watching mind-numbing TV. And this is all sucking brain energy that you could be using for more productive means. Or you're spending the whole weekend playing video games. Sure, it's fun and exhilarating, but it's sucking mind power away from you being able to solve bigger problems. And the reality is, to solve the earning, right, the earn more and the own more problems, you're going to need all of the brain energy that you could find. And it's really going to take all of the brain energy that you have to actually apply them to these problems to actually get solutions. So what does that mean? It means to be constantly thinking, right, about these two problems, searching for answers, looking for wisdom, asking how are other people solving these problems? What are the key insights that I need to solve them? What steps do I need to take? And it's an unfolding journey, meaning it's not about getting a simple trite answer. It's about figuring out what to do each and every day, because all of our journeys are actually very unique and very different. The truth and the reality is that we have a very limited amount of time. Our time is so precious, and we need to occupy our time with things that are of high value. And probably the biggest challenge is that most people vastly underestimate the amount of brain energy exerted over a long period of time that's really going to take to solve the earn more and the own more problems. I think this is at the core of being rich. If you crack this, if you actually identify the problem, these two problems, as being key and essential, and you actually start to apply your most precious brain energy throughout the day and even through the night, then I think you're well on your way to being rich. All right, in the next part of my series, I want to talk about how most of our upbringing and education has sabotaged, right, our journey to build wealth and what we could do to fix things. Then after that, I want to talk about some specific ways to use our brain energy to solve the earn more and the ownership or own more problems. Then I'll dive into more specific advice on increasing earning power, how to increase your owning power, and how to evaluate risk and reward in investments. So altogether, this might be kind of a 5 or 6 part series. I'm breaking them down into a series because it's kind of a first run, my raw thoughts on this topic. It's kind of a stream of consciousness of sorts. Anyways, I'm trying to get to the essence, right, of building wealth, building a framework, right, to help identify signal amongst a lot of noise. Anyways, if you get one thing out of this part one, here's what it is. It's to increase your earn and your own, right? To increase your earning power and your ownership in assets that can grow. And it's extremely difficult to solve these problems unless you exert an immense amount of brain energy, right? And to do that, you can't be wasting your brain energy on a lot of other things. Anyways, if this has been helpful, go ahead, like it and subscribe so you get notified, especially for the next series. All my videos can be found as an audio podcast. Just search for Dave Lee on investing in your favorite podcast player. I'm also on Twitter. My handle there is HeyDave7. All right, we'll see you guys in my next video. Thanks.